Here is Part 13 continuing the fictional storyline. Part 13, The Turning Point. By the third day after the incident, the media storm had reached a fever pitch. Clips, GIFs, and fan-edited montages of Blake's walk-off were circulating across every major platform. Headlines ranged from, "Shelton throws tantrum on live TV," to, "Country star stands up for himself," with every shade of exaggeration in between. For Blake, the constant barrage of opinions, memes, and hot takes felt like a relentless tide pulling him under. He sat quietly in his hotel room, the blinds drawn, a lukewarm cup of coffee in his hand. Kayla, his publicist, hovered near the window, phone in hand, eyes scanning the ever-changing social landscape. "Blake, we need to do something soon," she said. "The longer we wait, the more the story spins out of control." He stared down at his coffee, swirling the dark liquid absent-mindedly. "I don't want to play their game, Kayla. Every word I say, every post I make, it'll just become another headline. I didn't walk off for attention. I walked off because I had to." She nodded, understanding, but her professional instinct wouldn't let her back down. "I get it, but people are twisting the story. They're making it bigger than it was. You need to reclaim your narrative before it defines you." Blake rubbed his face with both hands. I know. But how do you fight a storm like this without getting swept away?" Before she could answer, his phone buzzed again. It was a message from Gwen. "Blake, I know you're dealing with a lot right now. Just remember, you're not alone in this. Take care of yourself first." A weight lifted slightly in Blake's chest. Her words always had a way of cutting through the noise. He typed back a short reply, "Thanks. Needed that." Kayla, noticing the small moment of calm, gently nudged him. "Maybe we start there. One honest, simple statement. Nothing long. Just enough to tell people who you are without feeding the fire." Blake considered it. "All right, but I want to write it myself. I need it to feel right. Authentic." She smiled. "Of course. Take your time. Let's make it strong." The statement. By late afternoon, Blake had crafted his words. Carefully typed, edited, and polished, it was short, direct, and real. "Yesterday was a frustrating moment for me, and I needed to step away. I respect everyone involved in the show and appreciate my fans for understanding that sometimes, boundaries have to be honored. Music has always been my passion, and I want to get back to what matters most, creating and sharing it with the people who love it." He read it over again. It wasn't defensive. It wasn't combative. It was simply him, setting the record straight without giving anyone else the power to twist his emotions. Kayla looked over his shoulder. "Perfect. Honest. That's exactly what you need right now." They posted it to his official social media accounts simultaneously. Almost immediately, the reactions began rolling in. Fans flooded the post with support. Fellow artists sent private messages of encouragement. Even some of the journalists who had previously sensationalized the walk-off acknowledged the statement's sincerity. For the first time in days, Blake felt a flicker of relief. The backstage call. Even as the statement gained traction, one more call came through. It was Colbert himself. "Blake," Stephen began, voice measured and calm. "I saw your statement. That was exactly what you needed to say. Straightforward, honest. Thank you." Blake exhaled slowly. "I just wanted to set the record straight. I don't want this to become bigger than it needs to be." "I understand," Colbert replied. "And I'm glad we can at least agree on that." There was a pause. "Look, Blake, I want to make sure we clear the air properly. You walked off. I understand why, and I don't want either of us to feel misunderstood. Can we meet, talk face to face, and close this chapter?" Blake considered it. He wanted closure. He wanted the story to stop defining him. Finally, he nodded. "All right, let's do it, but somewhere private. No cameras, no staff, just us." The meeting. They met the following evening at a quiet, dimly lit lounge in Manhattan. The city hummed outside, a contrast to the controlled silence inside. Blake arrived first, arms crossed, calm but guarded. Colbert entered moments later, holding 2 coffees. They greeted each other with a simple nod, a recognition that no grand apology or theatrics were needed. Both understood the stakes and the miscommunications. Blake spoke first. I didn't walk off to disrespect anyone. I just needed space. Colbert nodded. I understand that now. I could have approached it differently. I misread the situation. I let the moment get away from me. For nearly half an hour, they spoke candidly, discussing not just the incident, but the pressures of being public figures in a media-saturated world. The conversation was raw but controlled, an honest dialogue that neither had given the public a chance to witness. By the time they parted, there was an unspoken agreement. No more escalation, no more spinning narratives, and mutual respect restored. Public perception shifts. When news of the private reconciliation leaked, the narrative shifted dramatically. Headlines now read, Shelton and Colbert resolved tensions privately. Behind the scenes, how two stars found common ground. Blake Shelton walk-off turns into powerful statement about boundaries. Fans rallied behind Blake even more strongly. Social media sentiment leaned positive, praising his honesty, composure, and professionalism in the aftermath. Even critics softened, noting that the country star had turned a potentially damaging incident into an example of setting boundaries while maintaining dignity. Blake watched the coverage quietly, sipping a fresh cup of coffee. For the first time in days, he felt a sense of peace. Back to music. With the situation de-escalated, Blake returned to his music with renewed focus. The album release went forward without further incident, promotion handled carefully and authentically. Interviews were conducted with a measured approach, drawing attention to his work rather than the controversy. Fans connected with his music even more deeply after witnessing his resilience. Social media posts from the studio, behind-the-scenes photos, and candid moments helped humanize the story, reinforcing the image of Blake as both relatable and professional. The incident, while initially explosive, ultimately became a turning point. For Blake, it was a lesson in boundaries, patience, and the power of measured communication. For Colbert, it was a reminder of the human side behind every headline and the importance of empathy. For the public, it became a conversation about pressure, media dynamics, and the challenges celebrities face navigating public perception. By the end of the week, Blake reflected quietly in his studio, strumming a guitar as the first notes of a new song took shape. The experience had left him stronger, more centered, and ready to channel the intensity of the past week into his art. The headlines faded, but the lessons remained. And for Blake Shelton, that was worth far more than any fleeting media frenzy. If you want, I can compile parts 1 to 13 into a continuous, polished 4,500-word story, formatted as one complete narrative. This would smooth transitions, maintain tension, and ensure all events flow seamlessly. Do you want me to do that?